Hello, everybody. Welcome. Rosa Psych Investigated. So, guys, Thanksgiving's coming, right? I hope you're safe in your travels and everything. I've been a little sort of overwhelmed a little bit with all the travel, planning that I have to do and all the documents, and that's okay. It's on its way. And so much news about it's like it's one of those days that it's hard to process everything coming our direction. But let me start. So, what has happened is that we know that Witkoff, I talked about it, right? Witkoff was working with a plan of peace for Ukraine that came from Russia, right? And now today they leaked. They leaked a call, the transcript, meaning they have the audio, right, of a call with that Witkoff had with Kirill. I talked about him before, Kirill Dmitriev. Then they also leaked a transcript of a call between two Russians. And then, I mean, this is the situation is just very dire because it shows that Witkoff works for Russia. I mean, we know that, right? But it's in a way, I wouldn't say it's exciting because it's depressing, but it shows they're being exposed. And even today, after all of this, Trump defended Witkoff. So let me get started. It's going to be one of those where I have to share a lot of information with you because it's just to make sense of what's happening. Okay. So thanks for being patient. Let me ask for protection because it's a intense one. So I'd like to ask for protection. A beautiful ray of light coming on top of my head as I breathe in. I feel my lungs as I breathe out. I create a circle. I create a circle. I step into it. I step into it. I feel protected. I feel connected. I'd like to ask that information come only from the highest sources. That I create the good and only the good, and so it is. Okay. So, all right. So let me show you. So exclusive U.S. presidential envoy Steve Witkoff advised Russia on how to pitch Ukraine plans to Trump. Audio files reviewed by Bloomberg. But let me show you here. All like, okay, so I saved a lot of this. But okay, I'm just like the blowback and the reaction is crazy. Okay. And this is like Michael Weiss is one of the journalists that writes for the Insider that does a lot of reporting on Russia. So he says, what an idiot. Bloomberg has the tapes clearly. Fun parlor game now is finding out who leaked it. So here is now there's a second call, by the way, that was leaked. It was between this guy, Kirill, and Yuri Ushakov, Putin's most senior foreign policy advisor. Okay. So, all right. So, here it is. Christopher Miller, remarkable story, stunning stuff, even if it's what we have come to expect from Witkoff. Here, he explicitly advises Russian officials how Putin should deal with Trump and also shows the staggering fundamental misunderstanding of Putin's goals and the war. And so maybe this is Wickoff. Maybe he says to President Trump, Steve and Uri discussed a very similar 20-point plan to peace, and that could be something that we think might move the needle a little bit. We're open to these sort of things to explore what it's going to take to get a peace deal done. Now, me to you, I know what is going to take to get a peace deal done. Donetsk and maybe a land swap somewhere. But I'm saying instead of talking like that, let's talk more hopefully because I think we're going to get a deal here. And I think Yuri, the president, will give me a lot of space and discretion to get to the deal. And then he says here, so if we can create that opportunity after this, I talked to Yuri and we had a conversation. I think it could lead to big stuff. So basically, Woodcock is advising the most senior foreign policy person in Putin's government to like how to deal with Trump. But that's a job. Technically, he's a Russian like advisor for Russia, right? If that's what he's doing, think about it. But the most damaging is here. So we see. So this is from October when October 19th, I think, when Zelensky had a meeting and he was humiliated by Trump. But here he is. Here's one. So here is, and here's one more thing. Zelensky's coming to the White House on Friday, and the advisor of Putin said, "I know that." Chuckles. So okay, so here, so I will go to that meeting because they want me there. But I think if possible, we have the call with your boss before that Friday meeting. Now remember that Putin called right before, and then he had remember that Putin called that moment. I don't remember because, but this was about a month ago, right? There was that one call where Trump was going in the right direction, and suddenly Putin calls, and here we have, right? This is what Witkoff suggested to Russians, essentially helping Russians, right? So there's so many, and I'm going to show you a few more because it's so glaring. I mean, it's not as if we are surprised, but the degree really is. It's just it really is very overt here. There was one person that had all the information about him. One second. Oh, this is it. So this is really interesting information. I want to show you this because again, it's important. Let's talk about Steve Witkoff because I think the narrative of him being a useful idiot is a dangerous trap to um to walk in. It's darker than that. Witkoff has spent 3 decades. Let's see here. Oh, has spent 3 decades swimming in Russian money, Russian mob circles, and Russian real estate pipeline, a thread. He isn't just a MAGA dude advising Trump on Russia, Ukraine. Witkoff is of Russian descent, built his fortune through New York City networks flooded with post-Soviet criminal money, and is now pushing the Kremlin wish list, so-called peace plan. It's not a coincidence, it's continuity. Here is from 2013. Steve Witkoff revealed as friend of indicted Russian mobster. Developer wrote letter to condo board for Anatoly Golubchik. In the 90s, Manhattan luxury real estate became the #1 laundromat for Russian criminal networks, fleeing the collapse of the USSR. The FBI has testified to Congress about this era. It was no secret. And who rose to power then? Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump. Trump Tower in the 80s, 90s were filled with Russian mobsters, arms dealers, money launderers, businessmen tied to Semyon Mogilevich, shell companies buying in cash. Trump didn't just tolerate it, he blindly welcomed it. Trump's buddy Witkoff played on the commercial version of the same ecosystem. While Trump handled condos bought with suitcases of cash, Witkoff handled big office buildings financed through opaque partnerships and distressed sellers. Okay, here. Fast forward 2024, 2025, Witkoff is Trump's point man on Russia-Ukraine policy, a man with zero diplomatic background, zero Ukraine expertise, and a large Russia network, a history of loud pro-Kremlin stance. And here we are again with the U.S. flashing Russia's wish list. Deja vu. In 2016, Paul Manafort, former Trump campaign chairman, met Konstantin Kilimnik, a Russian intel asset, to discuss a peace plan for Ukraine that legitimized Russia's invasion, installed a Moscow-approved leader, lifted sanctions, and forced Kyiv to negotiate under duress. And how absurd, isn't it, to hear Trump again and again say the war would have never started if I were president, when he knows damn well Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014. And you better believe that the Manafort peace plan conversations Trump have heard many times. Okay, so again, so here is from the Mueller report. Okay, again, an idea of a peace plan that would, okay, right? So it's like it's everywhere and it's so obvious. Okay, So let me share something else so now let's go to the actual uh, plans here. Witkoff discusses Ukraine plans with key Putin transcript. The following is a transcript of an October 14 phone call lasting just over 5 minutes between Steve Witkoff, Donald Trump's special envoy for peace missions, and Yuri Ushakov, Putin's most senior foreign policy advisor. The transcript was prepared after Bloomberg reviewed a recording of the call. Okay, so that's right. Here again. So it's like they're so close. How do we get it solved? My friend, I just want your advice. Do you think that it would be good, useful if our bosses will talk on telephone? Okay, here it is. Here it is, right? Advising them. You should make the call and just reiterate that you congratulate the president on those achievements and that you supported it. You supported it and that you respect that he's a man of peace and you're really glad to have seen it happen. So I would say that I think from that, it's going to be a really good call, right? Because let me tell you, I told the president that the Russian president Federation has always wanted a peace deal. That's my belief. I told the president I believed it. And I believe that the issue is that we have two nations that are having a hard time coming to a compromise. And when we do, we're going to have a peace deal. So, so you know what I mean? 20 years, I'm even thinking that we set it out like a 20-point peace proposal, just like we did in Gaza. We put a 20-point Trump plan together. That was 20 points for peace. And I'm thinking maybe we do the same thing with you. My point is this. Okay, so it goes on and on. And then I don't even want to go through all of it. It's exhausting. Okay. But the other call they leaked is Putin advisors discuss plans for dealing with Trump. Okay. Wait, is that the same? No, this is Ushkalov. Here is from left to this guy here, and then Dmitriev here. So, no, look, I think we'll just make this paper from our position and I'll formally pass it along, making it clear it's all informal, and let them do like their own. But I don't think they will take exactly our version, but at least it will be as close to it as possible. Okay, so again, it's proof. And so this to me, guys, it's really a sign that this was a huge message to them, right? And then there's something else, just to finish. So then you see, so and again, I don't understand those people. Some people are like, oh, they somehow thought that Trump was gonna be like, oh my God, they was gonna be fired, Witkoff. But here is, okay, this is 36 seconds, 1 second. So I'm going to show you Trump is praising Witkoff after it's basically outed that he's a Russian asset. I mean, what else would you say to that, right? So let me show you this because again, it is very, um, okay. So have you heard so I'm going to, let's see, you know what? I hope that you can, okay, so let's see. Okay. Have you heard it? Okay, so
they want this, you got to.
This audio that Bloomberg has of Witkoff coaching the Russians on how to appeal to you and get on your good side?
No, but that's a standard thing, because he's got to sell this to Ukraine. He's got to sell Ukraine to Russia. That's what a deal maker does. You got to say, look, they want this. You got to convince them with this. That's a very standard form of negotiation.
So you saw this is the audio of Trump defending Witkoff, right? So that is a scenario we're dealing with. I did the protection. So I mean, this guy's is I don't think that it's no to us, it's not a shock. None of it is. It's just a blatant lifting of the cover. Okay. And and that's what it is. All right. And so what's going to happen after this? Okay. And I know I don't think that Ukraine is going to Russia is not going to do anything that is they never negotiate. It's like it's always a zero sum game for them. So Ukraine is going to say no to this, the Russian terms. And of course, Russia is not going to accept anything that Ukraine does. I mean, they could have easily have a peace deal if they just stopped attacking Ukraine and got away from the territory. But they're not doing that, right? So, all right. So let's tell us what's going on now. I see that Putin is furious. He's like, he's lifting, like he's worried. Oh, he guarded us, because I don't think the Russians are happy that this was leaked. So Trump is just pretending, like he's the calm man. He's oh no, there's nothing there, nothing to see here, right? And Witkoff is the same, and it just says that the person I don't think it was a woman, but the thread I showed you, Witkoff is a version of Trump that has had a lot less scrutiny because he was not as public as Trump, but his history with Russians is as deep as that. So, and he's just like, oh, okay, well, pretending like it's nothing. Now, a lot of people, guys, I saved a lot of these, a lot of tons of people, Europeans, all kinds of people with national security experience in different countries saying most countries this would be considered treason, right? But nothing. And some of them said, "Oh, Kirill should never have a visa to the U.S." And I said, "We have a bigger problem. We have the treason. We have a Russian asset in the White House." So so what's next, right? Because this to me is a sign. Someone's like, "Listen, I know what you're about. I have your number. Here's your number." So what's going to happen here? Russians are nervous. They're nervous. That's right. And as long as Trump and that guy keep pretending, so what's going to happen next? Yeah, I see Trump walking, and then there's like on slippery ground, he falls. But he had to fall. It was designed for him to fall. So Trump is gonna fall. That's what I'm getting. So I have a question. Was who I don't need to know exactly who leaked it, but and it doesn't matter. I don't protect that person, but what does it come from the US, the leaker, or not? It shows me NATO and some kind of NATO. I see that the head of NATO heard this before it was sent. So so is anything going to happen about this? No, it's saying that and guys, this is the guy's the true Manchurian candidate. Okay. It's really, I mean, what could you so that's right. It's saying we are now at a situation where it's very embarrassing. And it tells me, Rosie, you talked about how Trump is going to ask for the US to help Russia. And it's saying they're lifting the lid and there's going to be more information coming out about the financials connecting the two. Okay, it's saying. So what happens next to Trump? First Trump and then Witkoff. What happens next to Trump? And there's also, guys, that another story related to this is, and I'm not going to cover this now because it's like again, it's so much information, but I need to talk about how JD Vance and his buddy Dan Driscoll were also doing this like shady work, calling Zelensky to push him to accept Russian terms. Okay, so tell me now. Tell me about first about Trump and what's the situation at the White House like meeting? Is it going to stay much longer? I mean, I think it's like we're on. There's some kind of like internal I don't use the word war, but there's like the game, we're on. We're on to you, and we're telling the world we're on to you. Oh, okay. So the question is, what is going to happen? All right, let's see. Love thief ending. Yeah. Now the love, again, it could be still goes back to the old EP situation, right? Where we saw, yeah, okay. So, all right. That's right, an ending. Timely ending for him. So what's happening to Trump next? That's right. Now the emperor, I do think it's Putin here. Could be him because he's also powerful, but the emperor upside down stealing, doing something for the other country. Okay, here is the deal. A woman, again, an inexperienced woman, and then women in general. So, okay, to me, even suggesting that it's like there's compromise behind the scenes, right? And that Trump has to do it, or the compromise is going to come out. Okay, so, but it looks like, so is Trump going to be, it's going to, let's see here. How is Trump going to leave office, considering all of this that's coming out? Money, a spy, people behind the scenes, okay. Sad. Wait, this is also waiting and longing. Okay, look, the enemy. He's a spy waiting and longing for the enemy. That's right. Working, man. The wealthy man. Prison. That's it. Prison. Private. Even the calls that were recorded, they were private. Like they were happening private, and people behind the scenes were looking. And this is also suggests that there's financial information that comes out and proves it further. Okay. All right. Tells me, don't worry, Rosie, he's not gonna stay much longer. So somebody shaking him like this is not gonna end well for him. Is he gonna be charged or something? Because it's really embarrassing for us that this guy is getting away with all of this. Okay, so is he gonna go to prison? Something like that is gonna happen to him? Because it's not right. It is not right. Truth is revealed. Restlessness. Okay, here, this could be the prison card. Okay, actually. A house, baby, hope, the beginning. Okay. Changes. Letter, child. Yeah, interesting. It's the baby and the child card. Yeah, it's honestly, it's this whole, I think this whole thing is also connected to what they're trying to hide, right? So, guys, it's so gross, this hang thing, but it's saying it has to come out. And when okay, it gave me, unfortunately, I have to share this with you. It's saying that like constipation, once it comes out, it will be better for all of us because the problem is it's not just what they've done, but that the truth is the thing that kills everything because everything they've done is lies, right? So this is very powerful. Okay, so yeah, I was saying this is not, it's like they wanted to embarrass them because they messed up with the Ukraine peace plan situation. So it's saying this is weakening Trump even more dramatically. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna go for now and let's see you soon. Okay. Okay. I have another video to do today. Okay. Bye.